Sealed shut by an ancient chant lost to time, lies an ancient vault in the Padmanabhaswamy Temple. The vault door is made of solid iron and guarded by two intricately carved and ornate cobras. The door boasts massive serpents, intertwined and menacing. There is no bolt, lock, or latch, no visible way to enter the door. But the snakes on the door signify it was sealed with a naga bottom or a snake binding spell.
The giant cobras are a sobering and fearful warning to any who attempt to open the vault. They signify divine protection and guardianship over the secrets of a locked treasure chamber. Legend warns of a worldwide catastrophe and disasters that will rain upon this world if the doors are open. Yet a few have tried. In 1908, it was reported that a group of individuals attempted to breach the vault, but fled for their lives in terror as the area suddenly became infested with deadly cobras. Then again, in 1931, a second attempt was made to open the vault, resulting in the same outcome, the sudden appearance of thousands of cobras.
The Padmanabhaswamy Temple was built in the 8th century, though there are those who claim it is much, much older. The temple is one of 108 holy abodes of Vishnu, the preserver and protector of the universe. This temple is widely believed to be the sacred site where the Hindu deity resides in a state of conscious cosmic slumber. Vishnu is recognized by his blue skin, 4 arms holding a conch, discus, mace, and lotus, and often depicted as reclining on the serpent Shesha.
So what treasures are the ancient cobras of Vishnu guarding? What could possibly lie beyond that seemingly impassable iron door? Could opening the vault really cause worldwide destruction? Welcome, everyone, to our bite-sized episode. Of course, we call it a road snack, and we try to keep it just that perfect length for a quick drive to work or the store, and sometimes it can be a little longer, but we hope you are loving them. And as always, thanks for listening.
Originally, the road snacks were supposed to be about 10 minutes long, but Mary, bless her heart, she just can't help herself, and she just keeps adding all the great details. I know our Dyatlov, that road snack, was extra long, and I did harass Mary. I gave her a hard time and told her, we need to keep these short. And you know what she replied with? Mary, do you remember? You said, well, Haley, sometimes it's a heavy snacking day. And I just can't dispute that. And definitely, some days we do have heavy snacking days. So I don't know, friends. I don't know what we're having today, but I've not heard about this temple specifically, and honestly, I can't wait to hear more. Mary, we've got an ancient temple, a mysterious vault, and giant cobras. So what else could a girl want?
Well, Haley, how about treasure? Actual treasure.
I've been dreaming about treasure since the days of the Goonies. So I'm guessing that you are going to tell us that there's some treasure in this temple.
Yeah, and boy, did they find some treasure. Haley, if I was to ask you what religious establishment in all the world had the most money, who would you say?
Well, because I know you and you mentioned this, I'm going to say the Vatican, but I'm still would stand by that.
Exactly. I wouldn't have batted an eye at that. If somebody had asked me that question, I would have said the Vatican. And I looked it up, and it's around $10 to $15 billion. That's the Vatican's net worth.
That is insanity, specifically on the billion. Why does any religious group need that kind of money?
I know, and I agree with you, Haley. The Catholic Church, it doesn't need that money. So maybe give it to somebody in your local charity or shelter or family who needs help. I'm not saying to stop giving your money to the Catholic Church, but maybe, they're worth $10 or $15 billion, guys. So maybe a little less and give more to those who really need it. But wait, what are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about how rich the Vatican is, but I know we can definitely go down that rabbit hole maybe in the future, but let's pull it back, Mary. It's not the Vatican episode yet. So let's pull it back to the temple.
Oh, yeah, right. So the Vatican, they have those vast resources, but they aren't the richest. That honor goes to our ancient temple that we're talking about today. And it is considered to be that is capital THE, richest place of worship with an astounding $22 billion discovered back in 2011. But that's a low estimate. And Forbes called it a $1 trillion temple back in 2015. And you can find that article online if you wanted to look.
So 2011, it wasn't that long ago. I'm wondering, how did I not know about this?
I didn't know about this temple either, Haley, and I stumbled on it while researching for our episode next week. And I thought, wow, that's a crazy temple. I'm going to tell everybody about this temple because when I heard about it, I was like, what? So it's called the Golden Temple. And there's even some evidence that the inside, all the walls were lined with gold at one point in history.
I think golden walls, definitely amazing. So this temple is, what did we say, 8th century or maybe even older. And they just now found this massive treasure in recent times. Were the vaults hidden?
So there are actually 8 vaults at Padmanabhaswamy with the last 2 were just found in a subterranean area. So yes and no, the vaults were hidden. And by the way, I just want to make a side note here for the people there. These vaults have excellent names. That is Vault A, Vault B, Vault C, and all the way to Vault H. And the last 2 vaults, G and H, were the 2 newest ones found. And those have not been opened either to this date. And Vault B, that is the mysterious vault that has those massive cobras on the door. And we'll get into that. But to finally answer your question, the contents of the Padmanabhaswamy Temple vaults, they remained unknown for centuries, primarily because they were sort of hidden in plain sight. They were sealed by religious tradition and managed exclusively by the Travancore royal family, who viewed themselves as servants of this deity rather than owners of the wealth. So they never opened them. And what riches the temple has, they thought it belonged to Vishnu, not man. So they never touched the treasures.
So I'm going to ask, why did they decide to open them? The Travancore royal family, they had to know what was in them, right?
Well, it was said that only the kings knew and a few of their trusted advisors. So yeah, they had an ideal, but the temple was court ordered to have an audit done on it because there were allegations of financial mismanagement and some missing gold. So the Travancore family tried to fight this. They did not want people poking around in that temple, but the audit was ruled necessary and it kind of turned into this giant thing, and rightly so. So this audit was ordered and they go in and they open the vaults. Now, these vaults have been sealed for the most part for centuries, and an inventory hadn't been done on it. So that's the way it seemed anyway. So a few of the vaults were open several times a year to retrieve items for festivals, and that would be vaults C, D, E, and F. And so I guess that's how they noticed that some of the things were missing. They really didn't go deep into how they found it. I only found mention that there was an allegation of missing elements to the temple. And so that opened that investigation.
So what about Vault A, G, and H? Why didn't they go into those vaults? What did they find?
I don't know why they never went into A. And G and H, they were only discovered in 2014 when they were still working on the audits. So they didn't even know those 2 vaults were there. So they haven't been open to this date. And Vault A is the vault that had some crazy treasure in there.
Okay. So tell us what were those crazy things that they found?
Yeah, well, Vault A was so massive, it took months and months and months to inventory. Can you imagine that? But in the center, and I'm just going to go over a few things that they found in this vault. In the center was a 3.5-foot tall, solid gold idol of Lord Vishnu, who was reclining on his serpent, and it was encrusted with diamonds and rubies. And then alongside that was a solid gold throne. And on top of that were countless gold coins, and some dated far back to Rome, and bags of precious stones such as diamonds, rubies, emeralds, you name it, that stone was in that chamber. And some of these stones were the size of ostrich eggs. Haley, have you seen an ostrich egg?
They're gigantic.
They are. They're about 6 inches to 5 inches wide, and they can get even bigger. And to give you listeners, they're about equivalent to 2 dozen eggs. So if you put 2 dozen eggs together, can you imagine a ruby that long? But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked on eggs because I love my chickens. Anyway, they also found an 18-foot long gold necklace, a solid gold chain. Now, who's wearing an 18-foot long gold chain? They also found golden crowns, a golden coconut gilded with precious stones, and a solid gold body armor. Ceremonial belts made of gold, all crusted with diamonds, and they found some ivory inlaid toys. So it was just pure opulence and a treasure fit for a god.
Is some amazing treasure. I would love to see that. Could you just imagine the beauty in those vaults? Do we have any photos of these things?
No, there are no photos at all. There's not a photo of anything due to the security. And even before that, so photography and videography is strictly forbidden at the temple. So you can find photos of outside the temple. So this is in Kerala, India, for our listeners who want to look it up. And we can post photos on our social media too. It's a very impressive temple. It's just beautiful with all the carvings and such. But to the photo thing, there are no photos taken of any of the treasure. This temple is now one of the most guarded temples today. It may even rival the Vatican guards. But before they took the inventory, there was hardly any security. There were a few guards who walked around with just sticks, according to the royal family. Can you imagine that?
Very low tech. And, I guess it kind of worked, which is wild to think all of that is just kind of laying there all these hundreds of years. I'm wondering along the way how much got looted.
We don't know. And we know some because the people who claimed there were some discrepancies, they did notice a few things.
So what do we think is in Vault B, and have they ever opened it? Are those stories about the appearance of cobras, do you think they're made up?
I don't think they are. I know the later account is a rather popular one, and it's featured in Emily Gilchrist Hatch's book that was published in 1933 called Travancore, A Guide for the Visitor. She was there writing for the king, and they attempted to open the vault together. They had a Maharaji with them, and they only made it through the first 2 doors, and even those were difficult. Oh, so by the way, to get to Vault B, there are antechambers, and there were some items in those rooms. So those were mostly silver items, festival items, silver basins, lots of silver in those outer rooms. So they had to go through 2 outer rooms before they even ended up to the final door, which is solid iron. And that's the one with the cobras. And they claimed they could not open it. And that's when all those thousands of cobras just kind of appeared and descended upon them.
So what do you think, Mary? What is the special chant? Is it, to open it? Do you think it's maybe like a specific vibration that is needed to open it? That would explain the no locks.
I don't know. And that's the mystery of this beautiful temple. That chant or that sound generation that's needed, it's absolutely something that I feel the ancients used all the time. And it's a tech that we've just lost today. There's evidence of it in the pyramids and in a lot of these old temples. I think it's just been destroyed or hidden from us. And as far as what I think is in there, let me ask you a question, Haley. Do you believe in remote viewing? Are you familiar with that?
I am familiar with remote viewing, and I know the CIA recently declassified some documents, and they pretty much claimed that they have used remote viewing. And there are even some recent leaks talking about remote viewing and it being unauthorized. And even in that, we can go down an additional rabbit hole and how remote viewing is tied into and connected to aliens, which are now referred to as SABER, which stands for synthetic astrobiological terrestrial races. But absolutely, there's definitely remote viewing.
Okay, so I'm going to go with yes, you really believe it. But back to this. But back to this temple, I was digging into it when I had heard about the story. I found the Metaphysical podcast, and it has Rob Counts and John Vivanco. And I apologize if I said his name wrong. Well, anyway, I'll add their show on this temple into our show notes, and it is a good episode. Now, John, he's a remote viewer, and he was the director of operations for one of the few successful civilian remote viewing think tanks. So he's been on Discovery, History Channel, Ancient Aliens, a lot of the places. So he's what people would call a legit viewer if you believed in remote viewing. And I'm going to say I'm probably scared of it. To me, I don't think we should dabble in any of those things.
So for any of our listeners who don't know, remote viewing is what 11 on Stranger Things, that's what she does. It's basically a psychic connection that allows the viewer to see an object, an event, a person, or a location, and they're hidden from physical view, right? So kind of like a clairvoyance, like Lorraine Warren. And I know we mentioned that in our first episode, The Uninvited. So if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go back and check that out. But that is probably a good way to summarize remote viewing.
Yeah, John remote viewed Vault B, and I don't want to give it all away, but Cliff Notes, he claimed there is wealth in the vault, and beyond that, advanced technology, portal tech, and knowledge. He even kind of alluded that this site goes way back to the fallen angels, and he claims that there are people in the vault and that the vault's been breached and that they are in there studying the tech. So
always with the advanced technology, I'm going to say that could fall in line with the legend of opening the vaults, how it could bring about the destruction or cause a catastrophic event worldwide. As we know, humans are not good at doing peaceful things with advanced technology, and we just continue to weaponize it all.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know if I agree with Mr. Vivanco. I don't know how I feel about remote viewing. But if I hadn't listened to that podcast and you had asked me, Mary, what do you think behind those giant doors? I probably would have said some advanced weapon or lost knowledge, kind of a Pandora's box of something best left unopened just because of the warning on it. And like you mentioned, the catastrophic worldwide event that would happen if it was opened. And I might even say like a resurrection chamber, maybe.
I don't know what I would have said because every day that we wake up around this world, every day is a surprise. And I'm going to be dreaming of the giant cobras and all of that beautiful treasure. But definitely thank you for the images of those giant cobras, Mary. Did you, do they even say how big that vault door is?
No, absolutely no. I couldn't find any details on how big the chamber A is or any, they are tight-lipped on details inside of that temple. So there's no measurements are given, just repeated terms like massive and huge. And to me, with their 18-foot necklace in there and or an fallen angel connection, I'm going to say that it's just a massive door. Let's say 15 foot tall. And I'm guessing, and I don't know, it's all a mystery. But if we think back to those giant architecture that we find in megalithic structures, and they want to say it's massive and there's rubies and diamonds the size of ostrich eggs, I'm going to say, think of something ginormous and add a little more to that, and we might be hitting on it.
Interesting. This has been a fun little episode. If we look to the Bible, Vishnu could have been a fallen angel or possible Elohim.
Yeah, I think so.
It's wild. And Vishnu is linked to the Himalayas as well. We mentioned him briefly in our Yeti episode last week. So, Mary, what are we doing next week? I am seeing that you're linking all of these episodes together. And you mentioned you found this temple while researching. So I'm guessing we are planning to kind of stick around the area.
Yeah, we're going to dive into the myths of the Nagas, or those half-human, half-serpent creatures that you find mostly in Asia, but they're in other places too.
Well, there you go, friends. Be sure to meet us back here next week. And please do hit that subscribe button and share this podcast with someone that you think would like the episode. And if you love hanging out with us as much as we love hanging out with each other, take a second, hit that 5-star review. And we will chat at you soon with some more weird. And remember, if life is getting too terrible or weird, just stop scrolling through those Epstein files and pull it back to Jesus.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.